Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
And we're doing a quick unboxing of these guys, who are the Mahdist Ansar, Sudani tribesmen, 1881 to 1885, which is the Sudan War, where the Mahdist raised a rebellion against Egyptian rule and fought to liberate Sudan, and then made the mistake of declaring he wanted to conquer the entire world, which annoyed everybody. Got himself into a really big war and did the mistake of killing Gordon in Khartoum, which meant the British Empire got involved. And the rest is history, so to speak. Any comments?
I don't know much about it, so...
Have you seen the film?
As a kid.
You haven't seen the film recently? No, right, okay, fine. So, basically, go watch the film, that pretty much explains it all. So, we have, these are the figures painted up, but we will have a look at the sprues first. Right, so, using my patented background, by request, I'm going to have to move all these out of the way a bit, because... There we go. These are the sprues. You get... Is it 38 figures in the box, I believe?
40.
Is it 40? Is it? Let me just double check. 40, you're right. 40 figures in the box. And they come on these nice little sprues, which gives you the options to do basically anything you want. You've seen these figures I've done up. They're all from this box, and you can do all sorts with them. You can have them all equipped with spears and swords if you're doing very early rebellion. Or you can have them equipped with brand new rifles captured from the Egyptian army. Absolutely awesome. So we've got a collection of shields, which are rubbish. I mean, the models are great, but the actual shields are useless. Then you have a load of guys with bare chests and a few guys with a bits of clothing on. Not entirely well equipped, because the Ansar weren't that well equipped, to be honest. So we've got two sets of heads. We've got a nice fez just there. We've got a load of bald heads, and then we have a load of fuzzy wuzzy heads. Now, the reason I did these like this, I want to differentiate between the fuzzy wuzzies, the Hadendower, and the Ansar, because the Ansar and Hadendower are not the same people. It says Ansar on the box. Ansar means follower of the Prophet, and the Hadendower weren't following the Prophet. They were fighting a parallel war against, well, the Egyptians, the British. So it was sort of a parallel war that was being fought, and they were both on the same side. Despite that, some of the commanders, some of the best commanders the Mahdist forces had were actually Hadendower. So they didn't follow the Mahdi as a prophet, they followed him as a guy who was also having a rebellion at the same time, which kind of made sense to them. And pretty much at the end, the Hadendower broke away from the war, there were 4 tribes. I think some of the tribes broke away and decided to back the British, probably due to survival instinct, more than anything else. Anyway, so what else do we have? We have swords, which are worn over the shoulder because they hadn't invented the belt, and then a load of bare arms, different types of rifle. Oh no, they're all the same types of rifle, and that's them. So let's have a quick look at the command, and this is the command. So standard bearer, you can have a guy shooting a rifle. Drum, pointy hand. You always can tell the officer because he's pointing. As
always.
Yep. Officers always point, or they have a sword if you're British. Bare-chested guy, and guy in slightly more posh cloak with a knife, which is very nice. Probably ceremonial, but yes, that's basically what you get. So overall, what do you think?
They're cool.
They're pretty nice figures.
Sprues.
Yes, they're nice sprues. You get all the options you could ever need, really, to do what you want with them. As I said, when I did them up, these are the Ansar I've done up. These are the Hadendower that I've done up, and I want to easily tell the difference on the battlefield. So these guys are the Hadendower, the guys in white are the Mahdists. Now I did get a few other boxes to use for the Ansar warriors. That's the Sudanese and a few others who joined the Mahdi in his rebellion. So that's who these guys are going to be used for, and these guys are going to be used as the head and dower, the fuzzy wuzzies.
Look awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah, so that's what we're doing with that. We also have some Egyptians, which I can't show you because I've put them away, so that's my fault. You've got these sprues with the box, which are for basing. We're basing individually, so it doesn't make any difference to us. But sprues always come in handy, don't they?
Yeah.
And this is what the figures look like when they're done. So, what do you think of the cartoon sort of game period?
It's interesting, especially Gordon and the siege.
The Siege of Khartoum. Yeah, unfortunately it's portrayed in the film as if it was a siege of the city, and most of the campaign Gordon was actually out fighting. They were constantly fighting with the Mahdists. The local guy, or the local tribe, Sudanese, were on the side of Gordon, so it was very hard for the Mahdi to actually gain that area. But he eventually went over to the Mahdi, and that's when things went pretty nasty. And Khartoum fell the day before the British relief forces arrived. Which was a terrible shame, really. Especially for the Sudanese living in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may notice the youngest member of the family making noises in the background. Yeah, he loves Mahdist, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He loves this stuff. Yeah, he likes to get the figures and put them in his mouth and suck on them and get slime all over them. Anyway, so these guys, that's the guy. I'll put the sword over his shoulder. Why don't they have sheaths? I mean, sheaths, we've got sheaths. Why don't they have belts?
That's me.
These are the jibbers. That's not actually a jibber. The jibbers were standard clothing, standard white clothing that the Sudanese wore, and when the Mahdists took over, they followed the teachings of the magic book very closely, and so they banned women from working. However, women ran the textiles industry, which meant that suddenly you couldn't repair clothing. So the way to solve that was to put different coloured patches of whatever cloth they could get, just so stitch it into their clothing, and it actually became a fashion statement. So the more sort of patches and bars you got in different colours could denote rank or awesomeness. So it actually became a whole thing of its own. And by the end of the war, the later years of the war, you could actually tell who the troops were by what colour patches they had and stuff. But early on, it was just to fill in ripped, torn clothing, which is a bit depressing if you think about it. Basically, the Sudanese ended the war starving to death. Their economy was absolutely shot. Interestingly, do you know why the Hadendowa originally decided to back the Mahdi?
No.
Because the Sudanese, the Egyptians had banned slavery. And the Hadendowa was one of their primary forms of income. And so they backed the rebels, thinking that they could get it back. And they did for a short while, until the British crushed them. Or the British and Egyptians crushed them. Right, so anyway, I think that's basically everything to say about it. Have you got any...
No, that's everything.
Everything? So it comes 40 figures in the box. There's a nice little painting guide on the back. You also get a collection of flags and stuff in the box to use for the Mahdist, which is very handy because we've got a few boxes, not just of these, of some other figures as well, and we're using the same flags for them, so that's quite useful. And that's pretty much everything. So do you want to do the outro?
Yeah, so if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and comment down below what you think of the Mahdist Ansar. That's everything from me.
And everything from him. This has been Imperator Vespasian, and the small one in the background was trying to join in. And goodbye.
See ya.